A short while ago, the Okafors lived in their family compound in a small estate in Abuja. Their estate had a mix of older, traditional buildings and many newer ones with beautiful, colorful roofs where other families lived peacefully. This story begins with an evening around the end of a particularly rough year, when the distant rumble of generators, a common sound in the area amid a fuel scarcity, mixed with the happy sounds of children playing inside the compound. But even then, horror often creeps where peace calls home. The Okafors lived in peace with the small community around them, and that evening, just like many before, their sons, along with other children, played games in the sand. Their daughters braided their woolly hair, while the adults talked about the state of the country and whispered about the bad men that roamed Abuja. They said these men came at night, like shadows, and took things that weren't theirs. Just as the dust was swirling in the air, Adana, the eldest daughter, scrolled through her phone. Many WhatsApp groups were buzzing with warnings. "Stay indoors after dark," one message read. "Heavily armed men spotted near the highway." She showed her mother, Chioma, who was busy preparing dinner in their outdoor kitchen. "Mama, this is getting scary," Adana said. Chioma sighed, her fingers expertly slicing vegetables. "It's always been like this, Adana. They take what they want, money, phones, and sometimes, worse." Adana watched her, worried. "Mama," she asked, her voice small, "what if they come here? What if they take us?" Chioma stopped and looked at her daughter. She gently touched Adana's arm. "My child," she said, her voice calm and gentle, like a song, "the bad men come and go, like the rain and the sun. But we are safe at home. In our estate with good security against men that would do us harm. We've always been safe." She picked up a big yam and smiled at Adana. "Now, help me make dinner before your father gets back." Her mother's words were soothing, like a lullaby. But Adana still felt a little scared. She couldn't help but think about the shadows outside their safe estate, and she had a bad feeling in her heart. That evening, as Adana helped her mother pound yam for their dinner, the thump-thump of the pestle against the big bowl filled their yard. The sun went down, making the sky bright colors of gold and purple. Outside, someone listened to a soft tune on a radio, and children laughed as they tried to catch fireflies. The Harmattan winds started to blow harder, and they carried more than just dust. They carried whispers of scary things. People said they saw strange things moving in the fields outside the city, and some people who went on journeys never came back. But in the Okafor's houses, things were normal. Among the children playing with Adana's brothers that evening was a boy named Emeka. He was a quiet boy, often watching the others from the edge of the group. He lived with his family in a small house nearby, and his mother sometimes helped out at the church they all attend on Sundays and on some weekdays. His sister helped Adana braid her hair. And so Emeka and Obi, the older son of the Okafor children, were friends of sorts too. They would sometimes walk to school together, or share stories under the big mango tree in their estate. But lately, Emeka had been acting differently. He seemed nervous, always looking over his shoulder. He'd stopped joining the other children in their games, and he often disappeared for long stretches of time. No one suspected anything was truly amiss. After all, the Harmattan season made everyone a little on edge and cold. The whispers of bandits made even the bravest hearts tremble. But Emeka's strange behavior wasn't due to the rumors. One day, Adana came back from the market, very happy. School was out and a big festival was coming soon. She had played all afternoon with her younger brothers, Ok and Chijok. They ran and ran on the dusty paths, and their happy shouts went up to the sky like birds singing. Later, when the sun went behind the hills, a neighbor came to their house with a message from her mother. "We are coming home soon," Chioma had said. "Your father and I are closing the shop." Adana smiled. Tonight would be fun. They would eat roasted plantains and watch their favorite show on the TV together. But just as they sat down inside their house, Bang bang bang, someone knocked hard on their gate. Loud. Scary. She turned off the television. No one laughed anymore. Even the crickets were quiet. Then, they heard something else. A loud scream ripped through the quiet night. Oak, who was 12 years old but very brave, went quietly to the small gate. He looked through a little hole in the metal. In the dark, he saw shapes moving, men with masks on their faces. Their voices sounded mean like snakes hissing. Then, he saw his mother. Her beautiful wrapper was ripped, and her special beads were scattered on the ground. His father was being held down, very roughly, by the masked men. Oke's heart beat like a drum possessed. He was so scared he couldn't move his feet, but his hands knew what to do. He slammed the small gate shut with all his might, whispering the magic words his grandmother had taught him, words to keep bad things away. He ran back inside, as fast as his legs could carry him, to find Adana. His voice shook like leaves in a big wind. "They are taking them," he cried. "They're taking Mama and Papa." Adana rushed outside, but she found only the evidence of her parents' struggle, and no one in sight. That evening their aunt came to get them, and after they gave a report to the police, the children were taken to their Aunt Iji's home. The Okafor children sat in their aunt's small house. Their hearts were very, very sad. Their own house didn't feel safe anymore. They could still hear the scary sounds from that night. Their oldest brother, Obi, had gone to talk to the police. The papers the next morning also told their story and asked anyone with information to come forward, but no one knew of the Okafor's whereabouts. The chief of police swore they would not rest but continue to look for their parents. But everyone knew the truth. The bad men were like ghosts. When they took someone, they disappeared like smoke in the wind. The next morning, when the sun came up, making the sky a beautiful gold color, there was a message on Adana's phone. Adana's hands shook as she read the words out loud so everyone could hear. The bad men wanted money. A lot of money. The children didn't move. They barely breathed. It felt like a big, heavy basket was sitting on their shoulders. Days went by, each one seeming longer than the one before. The estate held its annual festival like clockwork, loud, colorful, and inviting, but Adana could not be less interested in any sort of celebration. The children sent messages to everyone they knew, aunts, uncles, friends, and even neighbors. They hoped to get some money together. But the money and jewelry they collected were like a few grains of sand thrown into a big river. It wasn't nearly enough. As the festival came to an end, the harmattan winds, now blowing stronger than ever, carried scary whispers through the capital. People talked about the bad men and the Okafors, saying they were getting impatient, and they wondered if the children would ever see their parents again. They told stories of others who had been taken, never to be seen again. Fear hung in the air like the thick harmattan dust. One morning, an officer visited them just as Adana and Obi had begun to lose hope. He spoke quietly to their aunt, and the Okafor children, standing nearby, heard their mother's name. Adana's legs felt like they might give way. The officer led them to the hospital, and there, the children were guided to a body covered with cloth lying still in the room. Obi's hands trembled as he slowly pulled the cloth away. There, lying still and cold, was their mother. Her skin was cold. Her eyes were closed. The mother who used to sing them to sleep, the mother who told them wonderful stories by the fire, was gone. The world seemed to spin. Adana didn't scream. She didn't cry. Not right then. The tears came later, much later, when they buried their mother in the ground. Their mother was gone, buried in the earth. Their father was also gone, lost in the shadows. The grave was real, but the sadness in their hearts was deeper, much deeper, than the hole in the ground. The bad men still wanted more money, but the children had nothing left. Obi, now the oldest and in charge of his younger siblings, sent them all the money they had, desperate to at least get their father's body. Then, nothing. No more calls. No more demands. Not a word at all. Their father had vanished. He was just a memory now, a painful ache in their hearts. They buried his clothes next to their mother, crying for a father they would never see again. The family left their house and left the estate that had once held all their happy memories. But sadness is like a shadow. It follows you, even when you can't see it. It stays with you, always. Then, a final, terrible thing happened. A whisper, a secret that was too hard to believe, reached their ears. The one who had shown the bad men the way to their house wasn't a stranger. It was someone they knew. Someone who had eaten with them, laughed with them in their yard, and played games with them as children. It was a friend. It was Emeka. To earn money for himself, the boy learned that he could trade information with kidnappers about potential victims, and the Okafors were sold for a sum too little to even acknowledge. The story of the Okafor family traveled far and wide. People told it quietly, sadly, warning their own children, don't trust everyone too easily. Don't ignore the whispers of danger. There's an old saying, if you feed a snake in your house, don't be surprised when it bites you at night. It's a hard lesson, but the story of the Okafors teaches us that the worst betrayals can come from the people we think we know best. Greed and fear can make someone do terrible things, even betray their friends. If you enjoyed this folktale of the Okafor family, please give this video a thumbs up. Sharing it with your friends and family helps spread these important stories.